Hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we've got a very busy morning this morning. We are going to be doing a chicken dinner live, and we're going to be doing it in my halogen oven. For those of you who haven't seen it, there it is. We call him Hal, cooking with Sal and Hal. And I haven't done anything with Hal in quite a while, but I was thinking, you know, it's time to start working out why I use it and for you to see in real time just how valuable it is as a time saver. So, hi, Sandy. Good to see you. We will also be making Sal's bread in a cloche. And, it was so funny. I'm certain some of you will smile at this one. I asked my neighbors if they'd like to come and have dinner with me, and they chose last night. And I thought, well, even though it's the night before a broadcast, let me do it. And I cooked them turkey dinner. And the funniest thing was that I also made a loaf of bread. And you cannot believe it. They tasted the bread and they went, wow, what bread is that? And I said, well, actually, it's my own. And the fact that I'd made it myself was big impact. But here was the thing. I had made my honey oat flaxseed bread, and they said they had never, and it's sourdough, and they said they'd never tasted bread like that in their lives. And it was just amazing. Hi, Bernie, it's good to see you as well, and carry on with the packing. You'll be able to check every now and then. So while the chicken dinner is cooking, I thought that I would make the bread and show you how I do it. Now, it's going to look complicated, but it isn't if you just get into the routine of doing it. I wonder if that makes sense. It's a bit like it's pretty complicated to put makeup on unless you do it every day, in which case it becomes part of your routine. You know how to do it. You don't even think about it. True? So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, with the halogen, just so that you know, the first thing I'm going to do, this is a frozen hard chicken. All right, just so that I've only unwrapped it from its wrapping so I could get this on it. I find this easier to manipulate. I'm going to turn the halogen on to 375, and I'm going to turn it on at that just to warm up for the time being, because I want to do something with the chicken. I've got it upside down. And the reason for that is I want to cook it a little bit on the bottom first and then turn it over, which in itself is pretty risky stuff to do. But we will see. I've got a mixture here of paprika, salt, pepper, butter, and some sage, I think I put in there. Doesn't really matter, whatever floats your boat. And just because it's me, I'm going to add some extra pepper to it. Just remind me when I turn it over to put the herbs on and spices. Oh, I know what I want you to put on there. Hold on a second, people. And put some lemon pepper. There was a reason why. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Now, we're all ready to go with that. And I did notice that this is a organic chicken with skin on. I don't normally buy chicken with skin on, so we will see. Okay. So that's nice and easy to pull up, hopefully, when it's hot. Let's do this, people. So the halogen is on at 375. I'm going to be letting it cook for about half an hour each side before I even think about putting in the checking thing. So literally, can you see that? I'll move it in a second. Now, at the moment, you can see the chicken is pretty close to the top. So what I'm going to do is put in an extender ring. I have two of them, as it so happens. That's just giving a bit of space between the top of the chicken and the halogen light itself. So halogen works on a convection system, and I just want to get all this in a position where you can see it, because I'm going to be multitasking, which could lead to absolute chaos. So everybody can see the chicken cooking away there, right? And you know that it was totally frozen. You can already, I don't know if you can see that, but it's already starting to thaw in there. Now you're probably saying, Sal, you're cooking it from frozen? Well, that's the whole point of having a halogen, is because you can. And it is actually the main reason why I have it. Hi there, Jody, good to see you. So, in the meantime, while that is working on its first half hour, I'm going to multitask and I'm going to start the bread. What I promised a couple of the viewers was that I would do my bread live so that you could see what I do. And I'm so used to how I actually do it. This, first of all, I'm going to need to do this backwards in a way, and you'll understand when I go through the process. This is my dough that's been sitting overnight. And if you look at it, you can see air bubbles in it. Okay? And that really is what you're looking for, is, you know, to have some air bubbles in it. Now, this hasn't got a whole lot of them, but it does definitely have them. And you're probably wondering, what's with the rubber band? So, well, the rubber band is to tell me, has the dough expanded, in which case, you know, it's ready to go. So it has. Now, normally I would have a cooked bread to show you, but they totally finished it last night. I'm not joking. And, you know, when they finished the loaf, they said, "Are there seconds of the bread?" And I went, "No." I felt like saying, that was my bread for the next 3 days that you just took. All right, so here's what I do. I'm not going to tell you it's the right way. I'm going to tell you, because that's what people ask, this is how I do it. And so I just want to see if I can get... So the first thing I'm going to do is to... Now, normally I would wait until the dough had completely doubled in size, which obviously this hasn't. So this won't have quite the, as Jody would tell me, the crumb that I would like. Now you can see it's pretty sloppy. And that's just the starting point, okay? Because what we're going to do is add enough flour so that it holds its shape. And don't worry about the dough. I'm going to show you that in reverse when we finish doing this part. So all I'm doing is putting a little bit of flour in there and then just mixing it in. Okay. This is very messy stuff, I just want to tell you at this point. And I find just mixing it in a little bit, it's very liquid at the moment, so it's going to be more sticky than normal. And then once I've done that, I'm going to start just patting it flat a bit. And as soon as I feel that it is sticky, I'm just going to turn it over. Keep doing that. using up the flour. Now, after a while, you will find that it stops being really sticky and starts holding its shape a little bit more, which is beginning to. And Jody, if you could let people know that while I'm actually working, I can't read the comments, and I hopefully will get back to them with your help after I've done this bit. Okay. And as I said, this is not going to be the right way to do it. This is just my way of doing it. And I do this every evening. I bake my bread before I go to bed so that it's ready for me in the morning. But, okay, now you can probably see it is beginning to hold its shape, right? And it's not all yuck and sticky and whatever, which is what we want. And what I do now is I start to roll it. I don't like kneading bread, so I roll mine. And so all I do is I just roll it like this. And by the way, you can see it's still a little sticky. That's fine. See, it's still a bit sticky. And all that the little bit sticky tells me is it's still going to need a little bit more flour and a lot more rolling. I don't take it personally. I don't take anything very personally these days. Can't do that if you're on YouTube. Right? Now, I sort of, if you notice, I'm inclined to sort of fold the ends in as I do this. And then as I roll more, now I'm beginning to feel a little bit of resistance in the bread, which is great. And the resistance tells me that we're getting there. It's really funny to describe it, quite honestly. But as you roll it, you think, that's suddenly got a bit of resistance to it. Now, not rocket science, as you can see, really easy to do. And I just keep doing this for as long as it takes until it just starts behaving itself. Sometimes it depends how wet the dough is to start with, as you can probably imagine. But now it's definitely beginning to hold its shape a lot better. I meant to turn this over, and I didn't. Never mind. Plan B, right? And I've actually, quite honestly, just rolled bread out for those of you who want to try that. Bread making, I have discovered, and I think almost anybody who bakes their own bread will tell you this, if you don't do it with a machine, if you do it the old-fashioned way, you get to know what it should feel like. That's the interesting thing, and only experience will give you that. And, there's no shortcut to that. It's just like, I can't explain to you. And, trial and error is a really good thing, in my view. You see how I envelope it like this? And then I roll it. like that. Okay, so as you can see, it's holding pretty well. Now to test that it's okay, I actually do this with my bread. I don't know if you can see, I'm sort of pulling it down and around, and I do that quite a few times. I want to see, does it break the top? Because what's happening is it is stretching the top. If the top breaks, it's not strong enough yet to work, but this is doing really nice job. I like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with a bit of oil. That's olive oil. And I'm going to put it in the cloche like that. The next thing I'm going to do is just make a couple of scores in it like that. I always use, right, just so that I can see how much is it expanding. And my wish for that is that it expands quite a bit in the next half hour while we're doing the next part here. I've got to wash my hands, people. I'm very dirty. So this I'm going to come to questions in a minute, Jody. I just want to get this cleaned up and then I'll do comments and questions. This I put into a large plastic bag because I don't want it to dry out. And we're going to put it over here because it's out of the way. I really recommend having a sponge with a scrubby on the back of it. The other thing, I think anybody that bakes bread will tell you, if you want to have really clean white nails, bake bread. And the reason for that is that the dough gets here underneath your nails, and as it dries, it sucks up any grease and dirt, and you end up with these beautiful white nails. So I love to actually see that happen. See this? And it takes it off the... No, it's not going on the bread. It's sitting inside my nails. Okay, there we go. Now I'm pretty clean. Let me see here. Jody's saying she likes the rubber band. Jody, it was an incredibly easy way for me to find out, is my dough ready? The other way I find out normally, and I would have had that to show you had they not eaten all my bread yesterday. One of the things I do as well, Jody, is when I take the lid off, I check to see, are there any bubbles on top? And if the bubbles are on top, then, I know it's ready. Because sometimes you can just see the bubbles coming up this way. And this wasn't quite as much as I would have liked, but I think you're going to get the idea. That's the main thing. Now, I said I'm going to do this backwards for a really good reason. Because this is what I do. This is the order I do it in every match. Okay, so I've got my dough ready. And I'm going to wipe the worst of this off my rolling pin with my scrubby. So it doesn't dry. It's easier to get off when it's still damp. Yeah. All right, so hi, Erin, good to see you. Jody's saying she likes how I form the ball. Jody, that works really well for me. And also, if you notice, it's not that difficult, right? I sort of fold the ends in, I make like a little jelly roll of it, and then I start doing the next bit. Did I show that enough for you to be able to see what I did? I'm the only person that makes bread and gets a manicure at the same time, yes. Well, the reason I mention that is because if ever you've got really, your nails are looking a bit dirty, make a paste of flour and water and put it under your nails and let it dry. Believe me, I learned that very easy one. So how are we doing here? We've got about another 20 minutes and it appears to be cooking very nicely at the moment, so I'm quite happy. All right, now then, working backwards. So you now know how I do the bread. You can see everything clearly. Okay, that's awesome. So now here's what I'm going to show you. I've actually, I always have the dough, the extra dough and the spare. And the reason for that is you will be amazed how often I have accidentally used my starter, and so that I had to start from beginning. I want to just let you know something, that whenever you're making bread, I want you to think about the pioneers. The pioneers couldn't go down to the store and get yeast. Does that make sense? It wasn't in their DNA to be able to do that. They were busy, on the wagon trains doing whatever they needed to do. So here's what they did. They took flour and water, and they mixed it up. Okay? And here you have the basis of yeast. Because flour contains all that it needs to become yeast. So all you do is you mix it up. Was that pretty easy, people? I hope. I want to be able to, yeah, okay, you can see that. Okay. So that is, if you understand that principle, then the rest of it is pretty easy. So here is the yeast that or the mixture that I put together yesterday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it out a little bit. Well, actually not roll it out, just work with it a little bit. Because this is what I would do every evening. Okay, so this is a little bit that I had left over from yesterday, and I intentionally have some left over every time, and I'll show you that. And as you can see, this already has the ingredients in it, the extra ingredients, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And then I'm also going to add my spare. And my spare is there because in case somebody extra comes and I need to make my daily bread a little bit bigger, I have enough for some more. Okay, so I make my bread, tomorrow's, and the spare. Okay, so there we have the two. You can see, can you see they're two different consistencies? That's pretty solid, and this is pretty loose. It's good. So now we're going to just get those going together. And all I'm doing is, getting them sort of integrated a little bit. And I'll do most of that just by rolling it, quite honestly. So this is not for today, this is for tomorrow. And this, quite honestly, looks like it takes a whole lot of time, but I do it while I'm cooking, and just bit by bit, and it's done every night. Now, The difference here that you will see, let me show you this. Can you see this? What I want to show you is this bread will probably break at the top. And if it does, I'll be able to show you the difference. When I do this to it, of course, this one's not going to do it, is it? How about that? Probably because I had some of yesterday's in there as well. I thought it would break for you. Anyway, what will happen is it'll just break open and that'll tell you that it's not ready. So now we have tomorrow's bread. Okay. I had a big dinner party last night, so I got stuff everywhere. And I need my elastic bands. And what I need is most of this one for tomorrow's bread. You all got that picture now? And what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of oil in here. And then drop that in there. Thank you. Okay, so you got that? I just dropped it in, and now I'm going to punch it down. Oh, that's too much. You see, I can tell how much I need for my daily bread. Okay? And I don't need that much. Otherwise, actually, it's my bi-daily bread. I make bread every other day. So that's about right, about that much. And I'm going to come back to comments in a second. Just if you've got anything, questions, put them up now so I can read them for you. And the next thing, obviously, because you're experts at this. Now I'm going to put on my elastic band. My elastic band tells me that that is where it started, okay, roughly. Doesn't have to be perfect, just the majority of it. Okay. See that the majority of it is at that level. Some of it's a little bit above, but that's okay. And then I put on my mason jar lid, and it needs to be loose. Why? Because you need gases to be able to escape. Okay? So that is tomorrow's bread, and I'm going to put that on the side for now, and we'll see if it grows any while we're doing the broadcast. And then this bit is tomorrow's. Now, this is the spare. This is my ongoing starter. Now, I do something really strange here. Some of you are just going to freak, but it's just the way I do it. So, actually, we know I mixed this up, so we might as well use it. So this is just some flour and water. And then I'm going to throw in my mixture. I'm going to add some water to it. I don't want to. I'm waiting for my new food presser to come back. So in the meantime, I'm using my magic bullet. So this is just a little bit of the dough that I've baked, that I've made, and some extra water. Okay. And it needs a bit more water in it. Why do I know that? I can just hear my magic bullet is. Okay. Rocket science, people. And in here, I am going to put this gooey mixture. So this is the ongoing part of it, right? That's what you need to understand, that when you make bread this way, there's always this ongoing mixture. I think they call it everlasting bread for that reason, if you bake bread this way. And you don't have to eat it every day. I use mine, as I said, every other day. I want to just talk to you about that. Now, I've got extra flour here, so guess what? That's going in. And also, we're going to mix that up. And now I'm going to add the extras to it. But before I do, how are we doing here? This is how you feed, this is how I feed it, yes. Okay, Sandy, so good so far. So here we have it now at this, what I do, and you know I don't measure stuff, so bear with me. Feel free to take a teaspoon and put a teaspoon in, probably a bit more, a flax seed, okay? And then I put in about the same of rye flour, and I put in about the same of whole wheat flour. Came out a bit faster than the other one, but oh, and one more thing, two more things. Oh, not that, I need that, and that. Okay, now I make honey oat. So here's how I do that. And that's what I made last night that everybody raved about. So they've never tasted bread that tasty in their lives, ever. So the first thing I do is about just under a teaspoon, if you like, of honey. And the reason I love to do that is so I can eat it. It's my daily treat. I'll fill that up. That's raw honey. And then some oatmeal. And I just use this little scoop, and that goes in. And then I just mix all that up. Does it have to be perfectly anything? No. And you can probably see that that's pretty interesting, disgusting looking mix actually. But we don't care because we know how that's going to turn out. So what I will do is put that, because there's quite a bit there, into a slightly bigger jar. And why did I put it into a bigger jar? Because I need room, in case it does start to expand in the fridge, I need room for it to do that. I forgot to add some, I normally put in a little bit of milk powder. This is whole milk powder. Put some of that in. And now I'm just literally pulling the fork into the center. And that helps mix it all in. And it's still a bit more flour in there. And I'll show you why in a second. Now, if I didn't want to use white flour, I could have added more whole wheat flour at this point or whatever. And we also know that the oats will absorb some of the moisture in here. But what I look for every night is for it to sort of just about form a ball like that. It's not, a solid ball. It's just, but it's not totally loose either. Just going to actually do with it a little bit more. And again, this is all just how I do it. It's not the right way. But this is how I do it without measuring stuff. Now, I'm sure that if you measured it all, it would be perfect the first time, but it's not how I roll my bread. So there you go. All right, so now I've got a pretty good ball formed now. And then I just press it down by turning my fork the other way. I just press the edges down like this. As you can see, that's a whole different consistency. And then, of course, I'm going to put my elastic band around it. And what I found as well is I just scrape some of the edges away so that I can see properly into the jar. Okay, got it? So the elastic band is roughly where the dough is, and that is not tomorrow's starter. This is my ongoing starter. Same thing. Put the lid on so you can hold it, but make sure it's loose. This goes immediately into the fridge. Just seeing if this one's starting to grow at all. Probably is, but I've got more than enough for tonight. So I'm going to put this in the fridge as well. And when you put it in the fridge, it basically stops. I've got a ginger problem here. There we go. It basically stops the yeast from growing. So what I did was this morning when I got up, in fact, what I do is overnight. Before I go to bed, I will bring one of those out and stick it on my stove. And so overnight it grows. All right, so let's see. Jody's saying, great for the immune system, the honey. Yes, and that's why I add honey and oatmeal as well. So now, I know this is going to sound really funny, but I literally, and I got to be honest with you, because that's what I do, I literally will take this and swirl it around. And I'll put it in there. This is all about, get into the habit of not wasting stuff, people. Because all this is good flour and water, right? And I just shake it all up like this. And guess where I put it? And then before I put everything away, I just take the rest of the flour off the board. That's what I'm doing at the moment. You probably can't see that because I moved the camera. Okay, so this is extra flour. Any leftovers in here. Now, normally I would have done this a different way, but I'm just doing it this way so you can see that I do this every day. I do take all the bits that I can and then just it also makes cleanup a lot easier. And quite honestly, not that I normally lie, but I actually put those into my magic bullet as well. Mix it all up. And I will put it in with the ongoing starter. So and I'm not going to worry too much about mixing it all up. I'll do that later tonight. I don't want to waste your time with that. But if I had my food processor, my new one, I would mix it up properly in the food processor. Okay, so now we can put all those away. And this is going back in the fridge. Remember, tighten it, but not too tight. And if you think about it, in half hour, I have made enough bread for 3 days, potentially. Right? I've got today's bread in the cloche. I've got tomorrow's bread in the door of the fridge. And I've got the starter, which again is in itself another day's bread, standing by. Half an hour. So does it take a long time? No, I don't think so. And does it make the most awesome bread? Apparently so. Not from my view, but I am not joking. I don't think my guests were upset that they didn't have more turkey. They did have seconds, but they didn't have thirds. What they were upset about was they couldn't have thirds of the bread. So, and what I heard last night was, in future, when you say, can I bring anything? I want you to know the answer is yes, baked bread. Which I thought was really cute. Okay, put this away. I don't think, oh no, we will need it. So let me just quickly rinse it off. Because I'm multitasking here with a number of tasks, as you know. Need the flour anymore. Need that. Won't need those anymore. Put those away. Well, I just started. Okay. And now we're getting on to dinner. So any minute now, that is going to ping. Yeah, Jody, I want to tell you something that it was the topic of conversation the whole evening. When are we getting together again so we can have bread? All right, so I'm hoping that demonstration was easy. I need some coffee now. Any questions about what I did with the bread? And just excuse the nyaga on the kitchen area now. That's going to drive me insane. I'll sit and watch that all the time. So I thought it's about time for us to check to see how our real bread is doing, the one we're going to cook today. Remember the one we started with? In the cloche. So that is what it looks like. Looks good, doesn't it? Now, what they taught me, and this is what I'm going to show you as well, is what you do is you wet your hands, and then you fold it under itself, all right? So I'm going to lift it here and then fold it. Then I'm going to turn it quarter, sort of spread it out, lift it, and turn it. Okay. Now, normally, just so that you know, I would do this a couple of times during the time that I leave it to rise. Okay, but because we're going to do this all at one time, hang on a second, I've got to do this. You got this method now, right? Now I want to show you the next trick. This one is the best trick. Or you can actually watch it. It's actually growing. That's done the first half hour. That's actually growing as I speak. It's really quite, you can just see it moving. Hang on a second. And at this stage, you're going to love this one. This is what I do. I've got one of these things where you put pretty patterns on latte coffee. And I put it over the top. And I take a little bit of flour, sprinkle it over the top. That's okay. And normally I wet it first, and I forgot to do that in my excitement. There you go. Now, you could bake it just like that. But what I do, which is so awesome and easy, take a pair of scissors and I, in little cuts, a little bit of basil from the chicken. I want that in there. And I just, little cuts, I just cut my way around that shape. I'm going in about 1/4 inch, I would think. And then I'm going to close it up again and put it back in here while I turn the oven on. It's going to get really hot in my kitchen. And a minute now. So we're going to put that away. I'm going to turn my oven on to 400. And then we'll do more chicken. Any more questions before I get into the next thing? could I measure my silicone cloche? It is 8. I would say it's about 12 inches. I didn't get the big one. I think this is the smaller one. It actually isn't, you can make it all in there. I don't, as you know. But, you know, they do tell you how to do it, where you can just throw everything in there and keep punching it down and doing stuff. But I promised you I would show you how I make my bread. And as I said, as all things are, not the perfect way, but it works for me. And if I break all the rules, then, forgive me. So, all right, so put that away. It's refilling. And some blood going on here. So you heard the halogen turn off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chicken on here and attempt to turn it over and put it back in again. So you take the lid off. Now remember, this was solid frozen, right? You all remember that. Oh, good idea to have some protection for your fingers. So I'm changing hands because, so I'm going to, this was solid frozen half an hour ago. Actually, I started it the wrong way up. Story of my life. So I might not turn it over. Let me just see how it's doing on that side. Yes, I will. Because I haven't got any of the goodies that side. I think so. All right, so let's put some. We're just going to cook it on this side enough to brown it a little bit. Quite honestly. So good, doesn't it? So this will keep the wings contained, hopefully. We don't want those to break off. And even though this was sitting in that heat, the foil actually is already very doable. So I'm just going to put that back. And we're going to let that cook. I'm loosening the bit of foil just so that it can cook underneath the foil. We're going to let that cook for probably another 15 minutes, like that. All right. Maybe getting hungry already. Hi, Beth. Good to see you. Okay, Beth. So we're we're food prepping. All right. Now then, vegetables. I'm going to do some vegetables now because I can. And I thought what I'd do is we'd make some, because this is all about food prepping. The discussion I wanted to have, and I want you to think about that while I'm getting the vegetables out. How many meals can you make out of a full chicken? All right? And I want you to think, you've got 2 legs, you've got the wings, you've got the breasts. How many meals do you think you can make out of a complete chicken? And just to have a discussion about it between yourself. Now, unfortunately, because I had guests last night, I've used up most of my fresh vegetables, so that's okay. We'll go with what we've got here. Double checking to see if I've got any fresh vegetables other than that available. Apparently not. All right, so we've got potato, we've got yams, we've got white yams, I've got some peppers, some carrots, and all right, so Jody's saying 2 roast chickens are $9 at our market. That would make so many meals for Lila and I, including soup and additional bone broth. Exactly. Think about that. And they've done all the work. All right? So if you can get 2 roasted chickens for $9, get them. This chicken here in Canada, and I've got to admit it's organic and all the things, all right, I think cost me $15. But you know, by the time you work out how many meals you can get out of it, to me, it's just like, it's okay. So, and you quite honestly, I used to eat a whole chicken breast at one sitting. I don't anymore. Have any of you noticed that? I have really lowered the amount of meat I eat. So to me, meat now is almost like an accompaniment. It's not a main part of my meal. It is just maybe a quarter of my meal. And I want to thank Beth for teaching me about food prepping and meal prepping in advance, because what I'm going to do now is to prep my vegetables for the coming week, or at least 2 or 3 days. And we're going to do them in the halogen as well. So I'm going to just peel a little bit of the skin off the yams. Now, there are 2 ways in which I do vegetables. Let's say that I want to have some meals with chunky vegetables. So that's easy enough. So I'm just going to cut off some of this and make chunky vegetables. Good. And I'm going to be coating it with some oil and black pepper. Oh, actually, no, it's a multitude of peppers in here. And I like a little bit of lemon juice in with my vegetables. Just find it gives it that little bit of a kick. Please notice, squirt. So we got some yams, and we're going to do, I'm not going to peel my potatoes. I just think potatoes are healthier when you don't. But they are washed, so we're going to put some potato chunks in there. Okay, and then we're going to cut up some carrots. Oh, you can't see, sorry people. Then I'm going to cut up some carrots. Also have been pre-washed. And what I'm missing today are any green vegetables, but not a problem. Put some more carrots in. I eat quite a lot of carrot. And normally I put in a little bit of peppers just to I use the red of the yam, so I don't need the white sweet potato. Okay. If the chicken doesn't cook too quickly, I will actually do a second load of vegetables. And if we run out of time, I will do them afterwards. So I've just coated them in oil, not a lot, just a little. Put them in there. And now what I'm going to do is wait until we've turned that over. Which will be any minute now. How are we doing there? Oh yeah, that's crisping up quite nicely. Good. Any other questions? Yes. Jody's saying, yes, your meat portion is your side dish, so to speak. Veggies are the main dish. I'm really learning that, Jody, big time. And not only that, I'm actually enjoying it. What did I do? Let me show you here. I had some leftovers from the meal, surprise, yesterday. And of the big turkey breast that I made, there were 2 slices left. And that is 1 slice with my signature shredded vegetables and some beans, and that is a meal for me now. Thank you, Beth, for teaching me about food prepping and proportions, right? So, and by the way, they had never had Sal's signature vegetables. And in here I had, I did have some green. Right, I do have some green. But what I find is that, people will eat that and love it because it's crispy and tasty. But I said to them, if you knew the vegetables in there, you probably wouldn't want to eat it. And that's why I'm saying, if you're cooking for kids, it's a really good way to get them to eat their vegetables. The vegetable that I have got, that I didn't put in, is samara, or zucchini, I think we call it. In England, we call this mara. So it's a long time since I was in England. Now I'm making these chunks bigger, and the obvious reason is because it's going to cook more quickly. There we go. Do all of the mara. soaking in a little bit of the oils. Oh, trying to escape. All right, so before this stings, let us just do one more thing, which is to check on our bread. And this is really multitasking cooking. Yeah, look at it. Okay, so that's going in at 400 degrees, and I'm going to put it in for 50 minutes. And what are we time? Just about right. Exciting, right? The one thing that I haven't done is when I put the bread in, I take a ramekin, put some water in it, and I just put that in so that the steam is in the toaster oven. I'm doing this in my toaster oven. Please notice that I am using a halogen instead of my dirty great big oven. How much energy am I saving? I am using my toaster oven to cook the bread. I could, if I wanted to extend the cooking time, cook the bread in here as well. All right, so, but Jody, I thought, it was interesting to see how my eating habits have changed, right? Normally, if I were doing this a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have 3 or 4 slices of the turkey there. And I would definitely have the vegetables in this small section, not the big one. Right? And please notice there are no carbs in there. I've got one with some mashed potato that was left over, but they did a number on the mashed potato too. The only bit of mashed potato I had left was the stuff they left around the edges. You know what I mean? I did say at one point to my guest, you do know this was meant to feed me for a week, right? Okay. Can you see the halogen? I'm not sure if you can, but literally the juices are coming out of there beautifully. Yum. Okay, so we've got the veggies ready, and I've also got some potato in there. Yeah, the mashed potato, I grill it. Do any of you grill your mashed potato? I make it all up, and then I put it in a square dish. I did it last night for 4 because it's easy for people to see what their share is. And then did I take pictures for you? I might have done. Hold on 1 second. Sometimes I take pictures for you. Jody, there is a, if you look under the formats, it's got skills chicken. It is there because I've got it up. So hold on 1 second. What am I doing? Showing you pictures, right? See if I've got any pictures of last night's dinner. Yeah, there it is. Can I turn it sideways, please? Okay, so this is the mashed potato. Okay, and then what else did I do? See what else I have here. Ooh. This was how big the turkey was. Just turn it around for you. So this was a big turkey roast. And yes, Jodi's saying about the mashed potato. When you grill it like that, they're crispy bits in the potato. So, and I covered it with basil, combination peppers, lemon pepper, paprika, and mustard. So that's what I rubbed it with. Just so you can see that. It'll probably come up on a video if I ever get to focus that much. I'm having a real problem focusing on videos at the moment, as you know. Hold on 1 second. See what else I have. I didn't do... Oh yeah, and then I did the shredded vegetables that you know about. So, and I want to tell you, no vegetables were left. I lie. There were some vegetables left, and the reason I did 12 cups of vegetables. So everybody had 2, that was 8, and I had some left over for this week. The reason I have them left over, I didn't take them out. I just took 1 tray to them because I saw how they were busy eating them, everything. So I left 1 tray for myself. Isn't that nice of me? Okay. So bread is in. The question is, how long will the vegetables take? I think probably no more than 20 minutes, half an hour max. So when I turn this over, I'm going to actually stack this up a bit and multitask some more. This is good. This is about to ding. It's looking good, people. I have no complaints so far. But what I wanted to show you is that within 2 hours of the broadcast, that using just that in my toaster oven, I can cook a complete meal. And we still got things like gravy and stuff to do, so. Ding. It is seconds away from dinging, people. You don't want to turn it off, don't you? But I'm going to be a good girl, behave myself. Please remind me to stick this in before I put the vegetables on. And for those of you who don't know, this is a chicken or poultry tester. And what you do is when you're cooking poultry, you put the legs down like that. Okay? And when the inside reaches the right temperature, the legs will pop up. And I want to tell you, that is the most clever little gizmo. It's a no-brainer if you are cooking poultry. It's like, I don't even think twice. I know if the legs are down, it needs to cook some more. And by the way, I would have pulled my turkey out, my turkey breast that I did last night, I would have pulled it out earlier, but the legs didn't come up yet. So I put it on for another 15 minutes, and the legs didn't come up yet. I put it on for another 15, and 5 minutes later, the legs popped up. So, and by the way, when I carved it, it was juicy. It was awesome. Yes, the turkey is, quite honestly, most people like turkey breast. That's what I've discovered. And so therefore, why not just buy the turkey breast and cook that as a meal on its own? And you haven't got any of the hassle of deboning it and doing all those things. It's all done. And boy, it was good. I want to tell you, it was really good. Could you please ding? Thank you. Boy, it took a while. Don't need that anymore. I've got to think here, people. Because you have to think, where are you going to put this very hot halogen lid? And I put it on my do that. You've all got to do that, I'm sure. All right, so now then we're going to pull this out. Look at that. What do you think? Oh, can't see it. So now I'm going to turn it over again, carefully. Give it time to cool down some. And now what I'm going to do is put this in. And I believe the right place to put it is right in there. Now I did, in case any of you are worried, I did check before I bought it unfrozen, then froze it so I could show you this. But I certainly did make sure there was nothing inside it before I froze it. So that's going to go in there. This is looking really good, right? So we're going to let it cook a little bit more. But these are beginning to brown too much there and there. So we're going to make plan B on that. And you're probably not surprised I've got a plan B. And I'm going to cover that area. With some bacon. Oh, you can't see. Sorry about that. And now I'm going to slide this along a bit. I get this sort of roughly centered again. There we go. And then how about that? That's just bone there, so I don't mind if that gets very well cooked. All right, it's looking good, people, right? I'm getting hungry. All right, now what we're going to do is multitask because we're going to put another layer in there. Like that. It's a little bit bigger. Then I'm going to put the vegetables there. We need to put these at the bottom, people. We can do this because we are smart. Stay together, chicken. Do not fall apart. This will be very sad. Okay, so let's put these in first. Then we'll put this in. That's good. Then we'll pray to get this back in. And now I'm going to put the extra extender in because I don't want the bacon fat hitting the halogen bowl. And then I'm going to put that in. Now, and I'm going to give it another 20 minutes. Off she goes. So just to be fair, it didn't come with 2 of these extenders. I got an extra one because I realized that I sometimes do quite big roasts. So with the 2 extenders, I can now do a whole rack of ribs in there if I want to, or I can do, because it'll just angle it like that. I've done a pretty decent sized turkey in there, to be honest. So it's all think about what you want. And, I didn't mind getting the extra. In fact, what I did was my first halogen, I wore it out and I bought a second one. So now I've got, 2 of these, and it comes with, things to lift those baskets up and so forth. But I just find, did anybody see where that went? I dropped an earplug, an ear thing. I heard it go, but I didn't see it go. I felt it move. Seriously. Where did it go? Up there. Up there. Did anybody see it? Oh, you wouldn't see it because the camera's not down. That is so funny. I've got to tidy up now because if I don't find it, I don't want to stand on it by accident. Where could it have fallen? There it is. Okay, life is good again. What was I talking about before that? Anyway, so I was really grateful to have the 2 because I can do really big roasts in there. By the way, you can understand that I can take this outside. I've taken mine camping. You want to go camping and start cooking a full roast dinner for people. I tell you, the other campers are going, what the? So, I didn't rebaste it, and I want to do that. Hold on 1 second. I can't, can I? Of course, I put the bacon on it, so I will baste it one more time when I take it out. So there we go. What have we still got to do? We've done the chicken. Is done. I can get that off my list here. And by the way, I was saying to Jody this week that I actually buy chalk pens. And the reason I buy chalk pens is I can write things. I don't know if you can see that, but I literally will write things on my microwave to remind me to do things. Or here I've got windows in my cupboard, so I write on those as well. So, yeah. So I really recommend, if you haven't got them and you're somebody that forgets things, it pays dividends, I want to tell you. And it's great fun rubbing off the things that you've done. Okay, so we are about ready with all of this now. The only thing we need to do is, in a minute, we're going to open up the bread just so that the top can press nicely. We've got about a few more minutes before we do that. And then I'm going to rinse this off. And what I'm going to do is just carry on with the regular broadcast for a second until all of this is cooked. And for those of you who can hear my phone, yes, I know it's ringing, but no, I don't answer it while I'm doing a broadcast. So, any questions on the halogen or anything I've done up until now, this would be a good time to talk about it. And in the meantime, I just want to go back to our broadcast generally so that I can just remember people's birthdays and things. I think what I like most about cooking at the halogen is you can see everything. You know, it's to me, it's sort of fun to see, okay, how are they doing? Yeah. It's just such a lot of fun to me. I got a really nice quote this week, and it was, for those of you who remember meeting Alexis, she sent me this quote, and I thought I would mention it to you because sometimes we forget that we actually do help people. Even as we get together and just chit chat, there are people listening, people who will come in and talk to us. All right, so, and we forget that that is something that happens. And this is what Alexis said, and I got her permission to quote her. She said, "I'm feeling much happier than I was." You remember she broke up with a boyfriend? And she said, "I'm feeling much happier than I was the other day when I was talking to you guys. I want to say that I've reached the point of accepting the reality of my relationship ending. Anyways, I can't thank you enough for everything you do. You are such a light. I hope you have a terrific week." Alexis. Now, she did contact me again yesterday, I think, to say she had another dip. And I reminded her that having a dip, having a dip is quite normal, right? And that's the thing about grieving. You will go, you think you've reached the end of it, and no, here comes another wave. And you go through the cycle again. I think the interesting thing that people hopefully realize is it's the recovery time. How long does it take you before the next cycle starts? And it'll, the more grieving you do the proper way, the longer it will be before the next wave, hopefully. Maybe they start being every, sort of 5 minutes, you get a major wave, and then it ends up being maybe 15, and then maybe every half an hour, and so forth. And, it's been nearly 10 years since I lost my dog. And, I don't mind telling you, I still have a wave every now and then about Bean, because he was so much part of my life for 8 years, 8 very short years. He should have lived way longer than that, but unfortunately didn't. And so understand that grieving takes as long as it takes. I wanted to say that under be prepared and not scared, I couldn't help but thinking that maybe this is the time. I'm trying to think what I bought this week in that. I started to buy more stuff for cleaning this week. I bought, I've ordered up more Mr. Clean type products. Do you know what I mean? And I'm buying big sizes. That is the trick, is to, when you're buying now, don't buy the small sizes, buy as big as you can afford, because you're going to be grateful for it. Not only that, if you think about it, you actually waste far less if you buy the big one and decant it into small usable things. Sakura is saying, for me, it's a wave sometimes, but not often. It isn't that overwhelming right now because our worst fear hasn't come about. Yes, but yet I'm still coping. Doctor gave us a couple of updates the past week, and he is okay. I want to tell you something from my experience, Sakura, Bernice. One of the best things you can do is the grieving you're doing now. I want to tell you, if you can keep knowing that, this is the grieving you need to be doing, when it actually hits you, you will be halfway through grieving already. You will never, ever, all right? Never, ever, replace your daddy. And you will never, ever stop loving him or grieving him, quite honestly. But the thing is that really deep pain grieving if you can work on that it's already happened in your mind, then you will be doing the grieving that, and you'll be ahead of the game when it actually happens. I know this sounds really strange, but when I used to fly a lot, and I did, as I got on an airplane, I would set my watch to the time it was where I was going. And sometimes that would be 12 hours ahead. And I would actually start my routine based on the time of where I was going. So if it was breakfast time here and I was going somewhere where it was going to be 8 o'clock there at this time now, I'd be thinking, I know this looks like breakfast, but I'm eating dinner now. And then I would sleep. Why? Because that's what I would need to do. So what I would do is I would actually work on that transition of the time lag as I was flying. And it worked really, really well for me. And I got into the habit of doing that because sometimes I would cross 2 time zones in one day when I was speaking. And I learned how to do that. I'd go, okay, fine. It's 5 o'clock in the morning now, but it's actually this time where I'm going. So let me work on that time, on my way to the airport and everything else. I just would get my mind there. So when I landed, I knew it was 5 o'clock in the evening. I didn't worry about it. It was just like, okay, fine. I know exactly. It wasn't disoriented. Okay, so Sandy's also saying, yes, tomorrow would have been your daddy's birthday. We had planned on being there with him this year. So again, Sandy, a sad time, but remember what we say, all right? The pain is inevitable with that, but suffering is a choice. So limit the pain. One of the things that Alexis came back to me with is one of the things I suggested to her was to actually have times in the day where she allowed herself to grieve. Right? That don't allow the whole day. Just go, I'm allowed to grieve the first hour after I get up. Because I found that was a time when the memories would come back to me. And then I need to go and do something. And then I can grieve again at lunchtime for an hour. And then I need to go and do something. And then I can grieve again, at 5 o'clock. And then I need to go and do something, and she was saying that she's been doing that and it really has helped. So I thought I would add that. Okay, the bread's got another 20 minutes to go. So I thought I'd show you how that's doing. And then also, I'm going to open it up so we can get the crust going. So let's do this. So that's beginning to brown. I don't know if you can see that there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave it open. And leave it open so that it can get a nice crust on it. Yum, yum, yum. And what I've got, just so you know, I'm cheating big time here. I've actually got the chicken fat now dripping into the vegetable. So, and I'm going to toss those in a minute. Actually, I lie, it's the bacon fat that's dripping in as well as the chicken. Oh my gosh, people, that's looking so good. Oh, now what I am worried about is that I've got the chicken leg thing that tells me if it's done, covered by the foil. That's probably not rocket science idea. Oh, it popped up. It has already popped up. Chicken is done. How long did that take? Hour and a half from frozen, people. Frozen solid, straight out of the freezer. So, here we go. Now, one of the things that they recommend is that whenever you cook chicken or anything else, I'm going to you see how the legs popped up here? So now I'm going to toss, I'm not going to leave that for a while, if at all. What I want to do is to toss these vegetables a bit. Okay, looking good. Cooking nicely there. I'm going to put this back, and the reason is because now I'm going to make the gravy in a second, and I'm going to put that in as well. Yeah, that's interesting. Bernice is saying that she does the same thing with the jet lag thing. So we're going to let that just sit for a little while, and I'm going to cover it with foil. And yes, I buy really good quality, what they call barbecue quality foil, and I reuse it. I clean it after I've used it. What I want to do is get this on a plate because I want to use it. Oh, just got to find the battery charger for my computer. Now, everybody's got their own way of doing gravies. And I do mine one of two ways. I can do it with some of the juices that are at the bottom there. That would obviously make sense. But quite honestly, I think I'm going to have enough juices come out of the chicken here. You don't want too much. And also, I think I'm going to put this back in. I'm not 100% convinced that this is totally done. Let me double check it. I think the reason the legs popped up was because I had the foil covering it, and therefore it was steaming. Hang on a second, I know how we can check that. It's back down again. Let's put it in a different place. Yeah, I'm not convinced this is done. That was my error. Do you understand? I covered the legs. I covered the legs with the foil, and that created extra heat in that one section, which wasn't, it doesn't mean that it was done. So we're going to go back to square one. How do I do this without it covering it up? Wait. Everything's easy to do once you know how to do it. So. Okay. So now we're going to go in reverse. We need to put the ring back on. And this is really that simple. Chicken back in. I'm going to put a second ring on it because the bacon. And we're going to give it another. Maybe this. Here we go. All right. Sorry for that. An hour and a half from frozen, solid. Yes. And have you seen how it looks? And you see, here are some of the juices, but what I noticed, there was just a little bit of pink in the juice here. And I'm going, nope, that's not ready yet. So that is why I decided to put it back in. I quite honestly, leaving it for 20 minutes just to sit, I'll probably finish cooking it through anyway. I want to tell you something, Samantha. The whole reason that I got the halogen was so I could cook meat from frozen properly. And that is one of the selling points of it, is that you can do that. So I can literally take roast beef and cook it in an hour from frozen. And the outside is, I can really, at the last minute, pump up the heat. What temperature? I did it at 375. It wasn't hot. It wasn't. Now, the question is, how long would a chicken like that take in the oven if it were already thawed? All right. So that's a chicken big enough to feed at least 3 or 4 people, I guess. And so I've got to cover the bread. It's cooking a bit too well. Do you know what I mean? I'll show you what I mean. Oh, that's hot. I think we can cover it again now. All right, done. So, birthdays. I know Jody was going to add that in for me. Oh. Okay, Jody, I need to go back to your notes. Hold on one second. Let me find it. I know Jody told me the birthdays, and I want to just find them again. All right, she says Lauren's birthday is this week on the 17th. Lionel's birthday is on the 19th. And Beth, I believe your daughter Catherine gave birth a year ago this week. So, and then we've got Lolo's birthday on the 22nd, and you know whose birthday on the 30th. So we got lots of birthdays this month coming up. All right, so now Denise is saying, I'm done packing except the stuff that's going in the cooler, because hubby said he will wait until it gets the ice so it stays cooler in the fridge longer. That's a good idea. They're on their way to a trip. And also she says, I love it, but mostly because you can debone it and make a stock out of the bones. And then all of the meat can be anything you wish for meals. It can be sandwiches, rice chicken, rice pasta. Absolutely. That's what I wanted to remind you all, is don't look at that is an expensive piece of meat. Jody's saying she can pick up 2 roasted chickens at her local market for $9 for 2 chickens. Seriously. And I would think at the end of the day, they probably do an even better deal on it. So this is the thing, buy a completely roasted chicken and then cut it up into, take the time to debone it and everything, but then put it into baggies, single serve baggies, all right? Now, the reason I say single serve is because if you're just going to feed yourself, just pull out one. If you've got 5 people coming, you need 5 of them. Yes, Bernice is saying they also do it at Costco or other groceries. So think about that. You don't have to do this way, but, it's like, think about, how do I save money on meat? Bernice is saying, thank you. I'm going to have to pull out my halogen. Yeah, I always take mine camping. I want to tell you. Mind you, I don't camp without electricity either, but that's just, I'm a glamper. So think about how many servings. What I'm going to do, either between the two broadcasts or maybe tomorrow, is I'm going to cut that up, and then I'm going to make baggies out of it, and I will let you know. Oh, it was Samantha. Sorry, Samantha. And I will let you know how many servings I got out of that. And then remember, that was an organic chicken. It wasn't, just a cheap one. It was an expensive one. And just how many meals. Now, I'm going to lose some because I noticed that it still had the skin on. So some of you are going, eat the skin, Sal. And I'm going, yeah, I'd love to, but I'm not meant to. So what do you do with the skin? I would think, if you slow cooked the oils right out of the skin, would they still make tasty treats? I'm trying to think. I don't hate to waste that skin. Yes, and I think that is it's interesting. Bernice is saying that she's bought one of those little shibuki pots, and Itaki Pro, and it's amazing what you can cook in those, with really very little effort. All right, so Bernice is saying the skin is good, no more fat because it's melted off. I bet you I can get a lot more fat off that skin. So what I will do is I'll take the skin off when I carve it, but I will also then recook it and see, I'll probably put it back in on a low heat and see how much more oils I can get off it. And then, maybe make some crispy bits I can put over a salad or something. Anybody got any ideas? Have you done it? Let me know. All right, now my mistake of the week. My mistake of the week was serious. I tidied up Bernice, thank you for your support. I tidied up the whole of my deck. It went from, I don't mind sharing that, even though it's disgusting. What did I do with my phone, people? It's no longer attached to that, which means I took it off to do something. There it is. All right, so you know that I've been unpacking and hacking everything out onto my deck, and it got to a little bit overwhelmed, and I will show you how overwhelmed it got. Hang on. Gosh, long way back. Okay, that was day 2, I think. Hang on. Ah, there we go. That was it. This is quite revolting, people, so be warned. I had thrown so much stuff out that this is what my deck looked like. Isn't that horrific? That's just 1/3 of my deck as I looked out of the window. And then Bernice and I have this system when we're trying to clean things up. What we do is we send each other's pictures on how we're doing. Okay, so Jody is confirming that I can keep cooking that skin until it becomes like pork rind. And it's actually good for you, right? All right, so now then, let me just find, that was the before. Let me show you the after. If I can find it. So then every day, Denise, I did just half an hour, right? No overwhelm. And then this was about day 3. That was, and then Yep. This was the other end of the deck by day 4. So as you can see, 4 days, that took me 2 hours to do the whole deck. And I just literally I took a picture of one section and worked on that. Really good idea. All right. So let's say last night, I had literally every countertop. You can see my countertop at the moment. Every countertop covered with stuff after the dinner. And what I did is I literally said, I work until that countertop is clean. And then work until that area is clean. And then work until the sink area is clean. And then last, I did this in front of me here. So I recommend, if there's somewhere in your house that you want to get clean, but you don't want to overwhelm, take a picture of part of it and go, that's the bit I'm going to clean this week. Yes, Samantha, Bernice and I have similar problems in terms of clutter. And so I know that she understands my problem, and she also is great support for me in that. All right, so I would recommend, yes, you see Samantha saying that the clutter in my house can accumulate in a week. It's actually insane. I totally agree. So take a picture of the section you want to clean and just say, if I do nothing else, I'm going to clean that section this week. I don't have to clean the whole thing, just that section that I got a picture of. And by the way, if you want support, send me the picture, right? Because you know I understand. All right, we're getting close to the end of the broadcast, but what I want to show you now is how far we've got. I didn't make the gravy, and quite honestly, the reason is because I've got gravy left over from last night, so I'm not too worried about that. So let's do this. Good. These rings get pretty darn hot, so I'm going to put this far away. The legs are back up again. See this? The legs here are back up. Let me bring it closer so you can see. Don't want to lose those juices because I'm still going to add those to my gravy. Okay, so you can see how the legs popped up. All right, and so is that a beautiful looking chicken or what? From Frozen. And I'm just going to double check it, and I'll do that after the broadcast, but I will double check it before I stop. How are the vegetables doing? Let me check that. They might need a little bit more. You know the marrow. Yeah, the vegetables are going to take a little bit longer, probably another 15 minutes. But I'm going to toss them, so that's fine. And then the bread. Now, the bread I'm going to turn over and just bake this side a little bit more, but it's very nearly done. Not quite. Literally another 10 minutes will do that. And so there we go. In the time that we did the broadcast, we basically have the whole meal done. And 10 minutes time, it will be done. So I deserve a treat, right? You think? Bacon. Mm. Mm. Hope you enjoyed it. And what I would like to know is, if you have any questions about cooking like this, by the way, when I finish cooking them, I'm going to drizzle just the tiniest little bit of maple syrup on them and toss them again. Just enough to give it a little taste, not maybe a teaspoon for the whole lot. It's amazing how that brings out the flavor. And what I will do is then put these into 1 serving packages for my food prep. And again, thank you, Beth, for teaching me how to do this. I will keep probably 3 or 4 in my fridge that I will use in the next few days. No, probably not, because I've already got from leftover from last night, I've got 3 or 4, right? But I will then bag these up once they're cool. In fact, I probably won't finish cooking them, to be honest. I probably will leave them 3/4 cooked and freeze them that way, so that when I warm them up, they will be totally cooked. That makes a lot of sense to me. So does having another piece of bacon. Mm. Mm. Beth, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but you will never know the impact of you putting up that protein box that day. You will never know what impact that had on my life. Every time, Beth, that I notice my blood sugar is creeping up, I go back to the protein box and go back to food prepping. And I want to tell you, Beth, that I remember how little was in that thing. And so what I will do whenever my blood sugar, and Jodie will be witness to this, because she's watched me do it, hang on a second, is I will literally go, this is a meal. All right, and I will do fruits down here. I will do proteins in one of these corner ones. And I will do some carbs in here, maybe some crackers or something, put some dips in here for my, here I do fruit and vegetables, so I put a dip in here for some of my fruits and vegetables, and that's a meal. And I will do that for as many days as it takes to get my blood sugar under control again. And if you, as Jodie is my witness, it works for me. So I really want to thank you. So, Sandy, I hope that you understood the bread thing. I know that's something, and you understand you get to control what's in your bread. And that is, to my mind, that is the important thing. And in the time that we've been doing this, I'm just trying to see here. Yeah. Okay, we've done everything, right? Except the gravy. And I just chit-chatted too much, so I could have done the gravy as well, but I know that I've already got the gravy. Thank you for being with me. And right, Beth's saying, glad to help. I need help drinking water. Remind me through the day, please. Yes, okay, we will. That's what friends do. So, Samantha, the next broadcast is in 5 hours from now. Whatever time you're at, it's 5 hours from now. By the way, I freeze my bacon 2 rashers at a time. So I can just take out enough. Really good. And then I'm going to let this finish cooling. And we will see you next time. Hope that you enjoyed this. This is DearMamaSal saying, quite honestly, it's amazing what you can do when you have the right tools. That is part of what I wanted to show you. And if I only, if I couldn't use an oven, I've got a backup oven. And quite honestly, why would I heat all of that when I can just heat the big fishbowl that is my halogen, right? And in the winter, I use it a lot more. Obviously, in the summer, I don't need it as much. And quite honestly, this year, I haven't used my barbecue at all. But you know why? I've been busy unpacking and stuff. So this year, I'm going to start doing more grill type stuff, but with the halogen and with my crepe maker. And I will do some more experiments. If you have anything that you'd like me to try and cook, let me know. For those of you who asked for my bread, I hope it made sense. And if you have any questions, please just send them to me and I will answer them as best I can. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you for being here, Jody. Thank you for all that you do as our admin. We'll see you guys tonight. Bye-bye for now. I've got eating to do.